Hello, everybody. My name is Max Hollander. I'm here with the Bluda Foundation. I'm the marketing and content manager. And we are so excited to be with all of you today. We are going to be talking about our new resource. We're going to be talking about our new resource with the Tshuva Center, which is an incredible organization that we're going to hear a lot about very soon. And we're going to be talking about our new resource. We made a resource for Purim about how to make our spaces more inclusive to people who are experiencing issues with substance abuse and substance misuse. So I'm going to let them in right now. Okay. There we go. Hello, Rabbi Iggy.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm so happy to see you. Where are you calling from right now?
I'm home. I'm
I
in
love the artwork behind you.
what's known as the skull room.
The skull, is it full of skulls? Or
Full
is it
skull.
just there's a couple of skulls. Okay. That's far more skulls than I have in my background right now. Although it's a whiteboard, so I could draw it, but I don't think that this is not what we're here for. So I don't think that it would look as nice as yours, I guess. But okay, we're so happy to have you here.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay, well, I guess we'll just give everybody like another minute to join. Anybody who's going to be here. I see Alexander Jack Clothing joined and Vivian Hoxter. I see Gabby Spat as well. Hello, Gabby. Yeah, we'll just give it another minute or so.
No worries.
But how's your day going?
It's Thursday.
Okay. Getting ready for Shabbos or no?
I guess just trying. I think Thursday is always in this sort of like tension between getting ready for the weekend, but also sort of like making sure that everything that needs to be done this week has actually been done this week.
Yeah,
So
Friday mornings or Thursday nights are always a calm night for me of like, okay, so the weekend's here, but then Friday morning is like, oh shoot, I
yeah.
should not have.
Yeah. So
I forgot.
we'll talk about it later. But I lead a group in like half an hour. So
Yeah.
I still have a couple more hours until sort of like my Thursday.
All right,
ends,
you have a lot to do.
Yeah.
All right, so then we can just jump to it now. I see we have a few people in here, so I'm really happy to see the people who are here, and this will be available afterwards as well. But yes, as I said before, my name is Max Hollander. I'm the marketing and content manager at the Blue Foundation. I'm also a rabbinical student at Yeshiva University. And I'm here with Rabbi Iki from the Tshuva Center. So in terms about the Bluda Foundation, just for anybody who doesn't necessarily know, we are an organization that seeks to raise awareness and quiet the silence, as we call it, about mental health issues in the Jewish community and substance abuse issues in the Jewish community. And we particularly do it from a Jewish lens. The way that so we run workshops and we create resources related to like all the Jewish holidays and different Jewish ideas. And just highlighting the ways that Jewish tradition speaks to how we can better our own mental health and mental wellness. Something that I like to say about it, and maybe Rebbe, you like this line too, is that I feel like when we combine these real issues and these real sort of solutions to this problem that is plaguing a lot of us, which is like mental health issues and substance abuse issues, when we combine those with like ideas of spirituality and like a religion, it might I think it gives everything a sense of like practicality, but also like depth and like real meaning. And I think that like whether it's spirituality or just connecting to your heritage, I just feel like it's such a wonderful language to use, your religious and your tradition. So that's a lot of what we do. And so if you want to tell us what Tshuva Center does.
Sure. So we are an intentional spiritual recovery community for people who are in recovery or people who are part of the recovery community. So family members and people around, people who are either pre-contemplative or in recovery. We are a direct service sort of organization. So where while we work a lot with creating more awareness and creating more resources like the ones that we're sharing today together, we are primarily interested in creating real, safe, and brave spaces for people who are actually struggling with addictions of all kinds, both substance and process addictions. We offer drop-in groups, we offer spiritual counseling, direct recovery coaching, a lot of different elements, and it's important for us to sort of really be able to offer actual work and actual spaces that allow people to get better and stay better. But also sort of to really, like you said, to work around the sort of Shonda factor, right? This nonsense of like, right, Jews don't drink and Jews don't beat their wives and Jews don't have mental health. Jews don't steal from other Jews. Jews don't have AIDS. There's no Jews in prison, right? These all sort of like what we call the lies we tell ourselves to try and make ourselves feel better, you know, and in that sense, sort of like Tshuva Center is really, the mission is to sort of to create a place where we believe in why fit in when you can belong.
I love that. That's fantastic. I was speaking to your creative director about like the way that your logo is framed. So like it's not the logo expresses that very clearly about like your mission, not why fit in when you can belong. And thank you so much for sharing that. For background, how this partnership happened was I had the incredible privilege of learning more about you guys and the Tshuva Center and everything you guys are doing at a conference you guys recently ran called Practical Spirituality, which was about the ways that clinicians and clergy members can take spirituality into their practice, how they can help people more with the tools that you guys are making available and like the incredible work that you're doing there. And so while we were there, I spoke with you and I spoke with your creative director, Ben, and we talked about how resources are really necessary and wonderful, especially around this time of year, because we have the holiday of Purim coming up in just a few days, which is the primary time of year in the Jewish community to talk about substance misuse and substance abuse and the ways that we are maybe healthfully, but also probably unhealthfully engaging with that, and how we are helping the people who are struggling with that like actually feel included and actually feel safe in our communities. So we worked together and we made this incredible resource between the two of us, talking about this issue and giving communities a guide to dealing with it, because we want to answer that question of like not having a sober Purim party, which people have across the country, and it's an incredible thing to have, and it's so vital, but not every community does do a sober Purim party. And we wanted to address the question of how those communities can make their spaces safer in a way that isn't like aggressive or like in a way that's inclusive, in a way that's like smooth. And all the more so, like just every Purim party should be safe for everybody. Everybody should feel included. So we wanted to help people figure out how to do that. I don't know. So I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah,
on that.
You know, we spoke about this, and I think this sort of that, you know, like if you're doing a sober party, you're already kind of a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of like if you're already thinking about that, right? And there are shuls that are sober shuls. There are not for sober people, but shuls that don't use alcohol or whatever, or substances. But I think for me, it's a lot deeper than that. I think it's not just about the sober party. It's, you know, because I also I want to sort of like make it clear, so like, right, so like my job is not to be the party pooper, right? My job is not to be able to say like nobody should drink ever again, right? Alcohol is bad. Like it's not, right? It's just that we have to make awareness for people who are struggling with all kinds of substances, and that's true for alcohol, that's true for drugs, that's true for food, which is also such a huge part of Purim as well, and in that sense, to create spaces that allow people to have parties that can have sober people in it, and they would feel included, right? Places that sort of people would feel that their own struggles are recognized and valued, right? And that it's not an afterthought of like, oh, there'll also be Diet Coke, right? Sort of when we're thinking about community and when we're thinking about all the members of the community, we try to cater to all, right, the people who are part of this, right? In the same way that sort of a shul would have a ramp, right, for somebody who is in a wheelchair, whether it is permanent or temporary, right? It doesn't mean that everybody have to use the ramp, but the fact that the ramp exists allows to send a signal that says, hey, if you are struggling with this, here's a chance for you to be part of this community. And I think that's really, really important, especially around Purim, where the seem to me the motto of the day is excess, right? And it's true, it's part of the Megillah sort of thing, right? It's like, right, it's part of this sort of commedia dell'arte that is the Megillah, right? He wasn't just the king, he was the king of all the land. She wasn't just beautiful, she was the most beautiful, right? It's all exaggerated, and I get that, and I think that's really important, but I really want to believe that if we can stop and think as clergy members, as educators, as members of community, it's not just about the excess, but it's also about building a community that allows people to say, we see you at every stage of where you are, where you're struggling or when you're succeeding, whether you want a lot or whether you want a little.
100%. And to the point that you're saying about the access, like you and I spoke about this like beforehand, that like it goes to the core of like what we're actually doing on Purim. It's like if you are just going there to drink and like just like to just get hammered and just like really just go all out in the party, like what part of Megillah are you even celebrating? Are you celebrating the beginning, the excessive party of the king that started the disaster in the first place, or are you celebrating the end when people were saved and there was like a real joy? And that's really what we're getting at on Purim. We're starting to have joy in community. We're trying to see like we're trying to like see the world in a new way. And if you're celebrating an access to the point that you can't really get to that real core message of what you're doing on the holiday, then you're not actually celebrating the holiday.
Correct.
Like you're really just doing something for yourself and not necessarily even for your community. And you're missing the point. Like I think that's so important.
You're missing the point. And I think the point of the story and one of the in this resources that we've put together was written by our phenomenal intern, sort of Ariel, who is also a rabbinical student, and really, and I'll have people read it for themselves, but this idea of what is really Purim, and if the question of this and this Instagram live and everything is when push comes to shove, what is actually Purim for you? I think then you really get to a question that if you find the answer, the answer is never to get drunk, right? No matter what it is, right? Yeah. The answer is never to get drunk. The answer is never to eat so much that sort of you can't walk home, right? That's never the answer. And I think, so through the resource, you can ask yourself for yourself, and I think also for the communities that you lead or are part of, it's how do I make sure that all that is part of this Purim and part of what we're trying to promote? Mm-hmm. I think so many people are putting emphasis on the ad lo yada, right? So until a person can recognize between Haman and Mordechai, but there's so many ways to read that, and it's not just about being so blind drunk that you can't, but rather asking yourself, I think when were you like Haman and when were you like Mordechai, right? So
I love that.
And the line between them.
That's lovely. I really love that. And to this point, just seeing things differently. Maybe we're just not looking at that mitzvah, the text of that mitzvah correctly. Maybe we should look at it differently. And I believe that's the message of that Ariel wrote in our resource. And which, just to talk about it briefly, the resource that we are promoting here is the Turn It Upside Down. And it is a guide to creating safer, more inclusive spaces at our Purim celebrations. And it includes a wonderful Devar Torah, wonderful essay explaining another way to look at that mitzvah. And so that's going to be available at both the Blue Dot Foundation's website as well as the Tshuva Center's website. Right. It includes that idea. It also includes a guide for if you are throwing a party in your shul, if you're throwing a party in a community center, or just among friends. What are ways that you could frame the party in such a way that make it you're letting people know that it's safe? How are you letting people know that it's going to be good? And how do you make sure people know that it's going to be a sober friendly space? And how do you make it make sure that everybody feels included? Everybody feels included. So be sure to frame it as such that it's good. There will be sober options available. Don't make that the only thing you say either. Be sure to make sure that you highlight and emphasize all the other amazing things that are going to be happening at your party. I think we have a very fun, and then we actually have a very fun thing that we included in the resource, which is something as simple as a photo booth. Can really just be something that really lightens things up. We actually included in the resource a hyperlink to some downloadable printout masks and print out hats and and silly signs that you could have for your photo booth. And we also have practical suggestions about what you could do at the party to make your space safer. You could have a bartender to be as some kind of a barrier between the people who are getting alcohol and the people who are giving it out, rather than it just being a free for all on a table. and so many other things. And so it was really a pleasure to work with the Tshuva Center on this, and with you, Rabbi, and your team. You guys are incredible.
Thank you.
And thank you. And in addition to that, Tshuva Center has incredible resources on their website, and the Buddha Foundation has a bunch of Purim-related resources if you're looking for more, from activity sheets to articles. Again, you'll be able to find this resource, as well as the Devar Torah itself in article form on buddhafoundation.org.
Yeah, I want to sort of make sure that point is really driven to all the way to itself, because I can't state this hard enough to say that that no matter what people do, the explicitness of things is, in Purim especially, is the most important.
Mm-hmm.
To make sure that you say, hey, sober options are available. To make sure that that right, that that you are inviting people and you're creating a message for people to say this. And this is not true, not just about alcohol, right? That is right. There will be healthy options and healthy snacks as well in the same message, right? So to say like, oh, I'm going to go there and there's going to be like hamantashen and cookies and cakes and things, and and I haven't had dinner or whatever. And right, but the more explicit we can say, right, we think about every member of this community and we think about all the different challenges, whether they're permanent or impermanent, right? That makes all of us so much stronger and so much healthier as a community, right? It is the right, is like, it is the silence, it is the shanda, right, that is really killing so many elements of us, whether like the language of Blue Dove or the language of Tshuva Center says the same, like we cannot afford to pretend anymore, right? That like everything is all right. And if we do that, if we're able to be brave and say like, you know what, there'll be healthy snacks, there'll be sober options, right? There'll be all these different elements, right? That do this. We are able to create a community that celebrates together. Because without it, what do we have?
100%. That's fantastic. 100% agree. And Rabbi, it was a pleasure speaking to you about this. I believe you have something.
You as well. I have to. Sorry, I'm sure we could speak about it for much longer. I'm, I guess like plug. I'm running a group, right, every Thursday at 5:30 called Tshuva Group, which is a speaking of practical spirituality and the concept within, a tool that we've developed to create practical spiritual check-ins based on like Jewish principles and and living in Tshuva every day, rather than just Yom Kippur. So we're doing that at 5:30, and it's an open group for anybody who wants to join. But I thank you, and I thank Blue Dove for everything you're doing and all the awareness and in that sense of like being able to embody community building across country, across denominations, across different elements, as a way to really build a community that is much stronger. There's so many amazing threats to our community happening right now from all over, and I think using Purim and using things like this to say we are stronger together is such a strong statement. No, today is how I hit the mark, by the way, Ovadia. So, but in that sense, I think that's really the embodiment of Jewish values, to build a community that can sustain itself and learn together and be together.
100%. Thank you so much for that, and thank you for the work that you do. And Rabbi, I wish you a Purim Sameach, and I wish everybody else an incredible Purim Sameach.
Absolutely, everybody else. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach. There's a million things coming up before Purim.
We can say Happy Pesach also. Don't think about that just yet. Okay. Well, I'll think about that after. Bye, everybody. Right. Thank you.